Hello, welcome to part 2 on studying about close friendships tonight. I am Rosemary Barnes. Robert Barnes, my husband, and I are the pastors, founders of the church you just saw in the roll in. We started it with God's help and direction in January 5, 1980. And we are having a good time together. And if you're looking for a church home, come visit us. Pretty quickly, Hannah, doing the graphics tonight, will put the there it is. She is one bright, responsive person. She's got it on there. If you put that website in your computer, you will be able to see our site, and you can punch in bulletins, and you can learn more about what's going on, even as we speak this week at our church, Wednesday night, Saturdays. Please come, please visit. We'd love to see you, and let us know you saw us on this program if you come. Last week, I talked to you about, I gave some descriptions about close friendships. Hopefully this will go up on YouTube, and you can go to it and see this last week's program. But I talked about the characteristics of a close friendship versus we have all kinds of acquaintances and Facebook friends that we don't hardly know, but they friended us or we did them because they looked interesting, whatever. But a close friend. There's a lot the Bible has to say about the people that we choose to walk with and take the counsel of and become close to, and especially husbands and wives, to be very, very careful. And that's what we were talking about. We covered the ground of making sure, first of all, they love the Lord. Second, that they're people that can, I'm jumping right into the things to look for, that they're people that can freely talk about the things of the Lord, if it's during church, after church, right after a football game, at the restaurant, whatever, that anywhere you are, that it is normal for the flow of the things of the Lord to come out of your mouth, just as normal as it would be to say, I'm glad I got this new coat, it was cold out there at the game. You know, just flow just as easily as that sentence would, and just as comfortably to be able to just include in your conversations, not as some sort of I got to do this and strategy, something that comes very freely because there's a river of life flowing out of you. Jesus said that to the woman at the well, that he could give her water, that she'd never have to thirst again. Well, that water he spake of is the river of life he gives us when we receive his Spirit. And that river of life is his life, his word, his ways, his presence, just everything about him flowing out of us. And we're not embarrassed, we're not ashamed of him. And we find friends. Oh, that is the most glorious thing you can find, is friends that you can sit with and freely bring up the Word of God in any and every conversation. And if you think of a song, Robert does this all the time. We could be sitting in the car just riding along and having a conversation. He'll think of a song that goes along with it, and we'll start singing it together. And there's no self-consciousness or this is weird, we're really weird. It's just a way of life for us. And it's to be married to somebody or have a close friend who just loves to just flow in the Spirit of God. That is just one of the best gifts you ever have. And I'll tell you what, you're not going to have a whole lot of them necessarily. Treasure the ones you have that are like that. It's a gift from God. And that's what, if you're going to get married, you're thinking about a wife or a husband, it's the first thing you need to look for. Now, I understand if somebody's really ugly, you're not even going to bother probably to look for that. I know that. And if somebody's trifling, never wants to work, same thing. But still, your bottom line is not he's so handsome and he's got a good job, even though those are things we look at in this earth. Your bottom line is, what is their walk with the Lord? That's your bottom line. Because if you look at all those other traits first and you start to daydream about living with this person with all these perks, so to speak, and he's fun, got a good sense of humor, but then you realize, you bump into the reminders that you don't get to be with them unless they love the Lord, according to the Word of God, you're going to be really disappointed. Whereas if you would have checked the most important thing in the first place, you wouldn't have got yourself all in a tizzy over all those other perks. They're irrelevant until you find out where's that person at with the Word. And don't be thinking about oh, when we get married, he'll start to go to church or she'll start to. Don't take a chance like that. Don't take a chance like that. This, you need somebody that knows the Lord the way you do, and be a person who knows the Lord so that you are a good choice for somebody else that's looking for what you've become to be, that is really knowing the Lord well and relating to Him. Another thing, Jesus talks about, here's another thing to look for. Jesus talks about the parable of the sower. That's in Matthew 13, verse 18, that parable, starting there, starts there. But you can look at some of the traits mentioned in that parable. I'll just highlight a couple of them as a negative thing, because he talks about people hearing the word and they receive it with joy. So I'm going right now to verse 21. He has no root in himself. And 20, it says he receives the word with joy. Okay, you went out with somebody, they agreed to go to church, they went up for the altar call, they got saved. Great, great. They received the word, they're all happy. You don't base a relationship quite yet. You got to watch this person. You got to see, because a lot of people receive the word, but what Jesus speaks about here, he's got no root in himself, no depth, no compare the word with the things of the world and consciously know this was darkness, this is light, this is where the word comes in, this is where, just no, they don't have any root, no power of meditation or reflection, just, oh, this is all happy, Jesus saved me from my sins and I don't have to go to hell, whatever. That's not, if they receive it with joy, Jesus goes on to say, when tribulation or persecution comes to a person that's shallow, don't have any root in themselves, they arise because of the word, and by he's offended. They drop out. Because Jesus, if you read the word, Jesus makes it plain. If you receive him, you're going to have a lot of tribulation. You're going to have a lot of pressure. And some families will split in two because one received the Lord and the others just mock and think he's acting like what did that one philosopher say? Religion is the opiate. Is that how he worded that? Of the people. In other words, it's the drug for people. It's a dream world. They're talking themselves into something just to feel better, but it's all, there is no God. It's all fake. Well, if somebody goes from that to receiving the Lord, you need to watch them for a while and see if somebody mocking them about their belief, family or whatever, if they're like, no, I don't want to pay this price. I don't want to pay this price in order to serve the Lord. And that's what the Lord was talking about there. You got to watch people for a while. My husband and I, as pastors, we have over the years learned, never mind the initial smiles and words. We've had, it's almost the kiss of death to somebody coming back. They come and say to us, this has happened at least 10 times over the last 40 years. They'll say, oh, this is the best church I've ever visited. I want to come here all the time. I just love it here. And Robert and I always at home go, wonder if they'll show up again. Because 9 times out of 10, when somebody is like that, I don't know if they embarrass themselves or they're just receive the word with joy and then fall out over a little bit of nothing. I don't know. But we have learned to watch, not just listen to words, but watch their walk, watch their faithfulness, watch what they do when tribulation comes, watch what they do when there's a misunderstanding, watch what they do when they wanted to be the this, and we chose somebody else for the that instead of them, the this and the that. I'm saying, you got to, before you begin to praise somebody for being mature or able, you can trust them to do this and that for you, babysit, whatever it is. We are big on watching and seeing over time who is somebody, not just who they say they are. Not because they have a degree. You know, some degrees don't mean a whole lot. There was a section of, Grand Valley is a good school, but there was a section they had for a while that I knew if a student was in that school within a school, I didn't take their degree as seriously as I did the overall mainstream aspect of the school. There's people that might have degrees, but somehow they sham their way through stuff. I know that's true for high school sometimes. college, there's some that aren't nearly as strict as others. So they can come talking about who they are and what they do, and you get some people, they got a job picking up the trash in the backyard, and they're a sanitation engineer with all sorts of flair with the saying of it, when in fact they have a very simple job that didn't take a whole lot of study. Well, then are they faithful? That says something good about a person. But somebody that's always trying to pad their resume, so to speak, and make themselves look way above what they actually are, that right there is a scary thing. And same thing, somebody's all excited about the Lord. Matter of fact, there was a church we used to go to, Bethel Pentecostal, and they would have testimony time. And I learned over time spent there, 4 or 5 years at Bethel, I learned that the person that can be the most radical and wildest during the testimony time can be the person that falls out the fastest, the one that's the most passionate and loud about, I've just met the Lord and did it, and I thought, there's something manic about the presentation of this person. They're going to go through a phase where they're not going to be as excited. And I didn't like making that judgment, but I was usually right. That would be the person that would fall out, because they wanted to be seen immediately as a radically sold out Christian. And it takes time to develop the reputation of a radically sold out Christian. Bottom line, you're looking for a close friend in the Lord, take your time. Be together in groups. Watch them. Listen to what they're saying. Oh, I'm going to be a part of this group at this church. They show up once and never show up again. That tells you something about that person. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this. I'm going to help wrapping the gifts for Samaritan's Purse. Don't show up. Don't go shopping. Don't add anything. If you're not going to do it, don't say you're going to do it. That doesn't speak well of your character at all. It really doesn't. You got to watch people. Then Jesus talks about he also that received the seed among the thorns. He's got a thorny heart. He hasn't pulled the weeds out of his heart, so to speak. His heart is a mixture. His heart is divided. Thorns are in there. He doesn't think to pull them out. And it says, he heareth the word and the thorns. Jesus tells you what the thorns are. The cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches. These thorns choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. So again, you see somebody that they're going to be faithful. They're going to be at every Bible study and prayer time. They're going to do this, that, and the other. And over a given year, you look back over that year, and you realize that they have been out of church 1/2 of every meeting time because they're all caught up in cares and concerns of this world and riches, ways to do this when they don't have to go that far, when they can make first things first. You got to watch. You don't want to have a close friend. Says one thing, their action is totally different from what they say. The good fruit goes in good ground. The ground refers to your heart. The Bible says, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. You have to make sure your heart is not divided, that your heart is fixed first on pleasing the Lord. You don't have fear of man. You're not trying to be a man pleaser in any way, shape, or form. You want to please God. You want to have priorities. God says it is priorities. And anytime a weed comes up, like the deceitfulness of riches, beware of the one that comes and they've got a get-rich scheme, and you just know it's true, but it's going to take a lot of hours and reading and initially for you to get involved in this get-rich-quick scheme. Be careful, be careful, be careful. It's very immature, too. You ever seen little boys, 12 and 13, young boys, the first time they get something in the mail that says, enter this contest and you can win $100,000? They're all excited. They just know they're going to win. That came to their house. It came in their name. And they just know if they were invited to enter this, surely they're going to get some big prize. Don't fall for everything. Don't get involved in everything. Make God first. Your time with him first. But the good ground hears the word, understands it. Why do they understand it? You know what? Sin blinds our eyes to truth. You get blind. One of the rewards of sin, you can read that in Romans, one of the rewards of sin is he'll blind your eyes to his truth. You have to clean your heart of filthiness and wickedness in order to hear the word and understand it. I'm going to tell you right now something my friend told me years ago, my prophetic friend named Linda. She said, you got somebody on TV teaching heresy, I guarantee you they're involved in some deep, important, important on the list kind of sin, because sin is causing them to speak heresy. And pretty much I have found that to be true. And the Bible principle is that sin will blind your eyes. But the person that's got a good heart, they hear the word, they understand it, and then they bear fruit. Some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. There's even levels of fruit bearing. And you know what? If you're a person that bears a lot of fruit, you don't want to be with people on this other level that say they're excited about the word and then they're choked out from the word because they're so earth-minded. You don't want to be with a person like that. I don't care how much your mom and dad like them and recommend them. It's irrelevant. You're the one that's got to live with somebody whose first priority is not doing everything in the name of the Lord. You don't want to live with that person. But you got to be a person like that in order to, I want to use the word deserve. Maybe it's the appropriate word, but it's the first one that came to mind. You don't deserve somebody that's walking, bringing forth all kinds of fruit of the word and the spirit, and you are trifling in the things of the word of the Lord. You don't deserve somebody like that. Don't bother that person if you can see their way beyond you. Don't even bother them, please. Not only as a spouse, but even I've had people in my other women that I could tell wanted to be my friend. And I'd look at their walk and their complaints. They're always wanting to keep a negative, they're the victim drama going on. And I'm like, I came through all that. I grew up past that. It's one thing if Robert and I counsel this woman and make her somebody that we try to help grow up into the Lord, but she's not going to be my close friend. I don't deserve that as a close friend. How many close friends cards do you have? You know how you talk about dance cards, how in the old days a young lady would go to a dance, they'd have a dance card, and guys would make a list on her card. Well, you only got so many slots in that card. That's the way I feel about close friends. There's some word in Proverbs, some verse that I didn't find for this message, but it says that you can come to ruin if you have too many friends. You don't have time you have just so much time for quality relationships, like the kind I'm talking about right now. That includes same-sex, not wrongful, but same-sex pure relationships and boy-girl relationships, male-female relationships. You don't have time for a whole bunch of those. So when you're looking who's going to fill up that card in your life of a close, trusted friend, you got to be careful. Because here you pick up this one, and it's going to keep you from having a better friend who would be more in tune with the Lord, that you could edify each other more and even work together more in the kingdom. Like I tell people, I say, don't marry your caseload. I used to be a social worker. It's one thing that if I'm a social worker coming to your house and I'm trying to show you ways to get out of your situation. It's another thing if I jump in the situation with you, I end up all muddied up because I've jumped into your dark, pitiful, fleshly outlook on life, and now I can't stand back objectively anymore and help a whole lot of people because I've gotten too deep into a realm where you're at that you need to come on out of. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't just give your close friendship and relationship away cheaply. If you're at a certain level, look for other people that are aspiring, both of you are aspiring to go higher together. Now, you can have some gaps, but you know when somebody's way deep into being fleshly and selfish and narcissistic, and you come along and think you're going to change them, instead of thinking, I need friends that are strong in the Lord, and together we can help other people. But I don't need to make that person who's weak my closest friend. I'm telling you, if you look over your life, say you're 50 or 60 right now, I challenge you to look over your life and see how many times you took detours or fell into a pit because you got suckered into a relationship that diverted you from your path because you felt sorry for them or you felt guilty not liking them back when they wanted to be your friend. And it was a disaster a waste of time, money, and energy. I'm not talking about not loving people. I'm talking about not becoming close friends with some people. Please examine that. And you say, well, how can I judge that? You know what? Here's some verses about that. It tells you very clearly if somebody's walking in the flesh. Remember I said fleshly? And I could add the word self-absorbed. Come into my net where it's all about me. You're going to lose your way. The Bible tells you in Galatians 5 exactly what it looks like, and you can read that one on your own. Please read it. Start with 19. You can see exactly what somebody looks like walking in the flesh and exactly what somebody looks like when they walk in the Spirit. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's very few Christians that are totally in the flesh or totally in the Spirit. There's degrees. Remember how it said in the parable of the sower, some walk good, but some are 30, some are 60, and some are 100. Well, there's levels of fleshiness, and people have gotten over this, and this, but they're still struggling with this. Okay, we're all struggling with something. I don't know anybody perfect. But if somebody is totally drowning in mud pies of the flesh, no, that's not somebody to make a close friend. Unless, of course, you're in the mud with them. I don't know what to say about that. I would suggest strongly that if you know you're in the mud pies of flesh, don't even get some sort of close relationship until you come up a lot higher. Because what are you going to do with that relationship that you developed when you were both in the flesh, and now you've decided to ramp it way up with the Lord, and they don't? Now you're going to have to walk away from that. So it's probably get your life together so you don't end up with somebody like that. It says in Matthew 7, verse 15, again about judging. It starts out with, in verse 15, beware of false prophets. This is the context, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. Now, that gives you a hint right there. Not just false prophets, but human beings can look really great on the outside, but inside be ravening wolves. In other words, they will devour you. They will use you and spit you out, eat you up, and do it real sneakily and look as if they're good people, but turn out to be wolves. That's why it's a good idea to bring your relationships around other Christians. They might see some things that you don't see. And then it goes, you'll know them by their fruit. Now, there comes in the judging. You have to be a fruit inspector. And you know what? People that aren't right will call you a nitpicker. The Bible says be a fruit inspector. We just went to Meyer. Was that yesterday? Seems like 10 years ago right this minute. Robert and I, he's sitting over here, just went to Meyer, and they had some Honeycrisp apples on sale. And then I think, are these Honeycrisp apples that have been sitting around for a while, and that's why they're on sale? So I began to become a fruit inspector. And the first few that I picked out had little indentations and turning brown and soft. Then I decided to pull up that first layer where they sit on and see the next layer that nobody's looked at yet, because the first layer was really picked over. And I started to inspect, and I found 4 of them that I thought seemed solid all the way through. Well, the Lord is telling us to do people like that. Inspect. Some people are what they say, rotten to the core. The analogy is a piece of fruit. Rotten to the core. Just going all around, seeing what, maybe they're a 19-year-old that's developed swagger and conceit, and they're going around, see how many girls they can seduce. Just rotten to the core concerning taking girls out. Just rotten. Honey, usually your parents, especially your dad, if you're a young lady, can discern that right quick. Then you got those dads that, I don't care if you're Jesus, you probably say you have to wait till you're 40, whatever, because they're very protective. But I'm just saying, we're told to inspect the fruit. You'll know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit. A corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree can't bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. And it says what God does with bad trees. Every tree that bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Verse 20 of that passage says, wherefore by their fruits you will know them. Not everybody that says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter in the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father that's in heaven. And he goes on to talk about there's some people that when he comes again and he judged them, well, wait a minute, we did all this in your name. He's get out of my face, depart from me, you workers of iniquity or lawlessness. Now go right back to the not everybody that saith. Right back to if you really are attracted to another person, be it for a friendship with another fellow woman or boyfriend, girlfriend, if you really want to be a friend of that person because you're fascinated with they're a good actress, they're a good writer, they're a good singer, they do stock car races, whatever it is that lights your fire in the natural, and you're attracted to that, you know what you want? You want to hear them say, I've read the Bible, I go to church sometime, I believe Jesus died on the cross. You're just waiting to just hear those words so that you can go home and tell your parents, well, they say that they believe the Bible. They've read a lot of the Bible. And they say that sometimes they go with their parents to church. And you're not thinking, you got to do the will of God. And that takes time to see not what they're saying because they want to get you in their clutches, so to speak, when they know good and well they're not on the same page and have no intention of going there. But they want to get you, and the more they can get you to be with them, the more attached you're going to be. So we have to be wise. We have to be wise. You don't choose somebody to be a close friend right away. Now I'm real friendly, so that's hard for me because some people I meet in an elevator feel like we're really close by the time we get out, but we're not. That's not a close friendship. In a close friendship, we've got to figure out not just what the person says, but are they doing the will of the Father? Now, how are we going to know that? We have to know the Word. We have to listen to His Spirit. We ourselves have to be close to the Lord. You say, well, I won't have any close friends. Well, I'll tell you, friendship in the world, it can have some pleasure, but if somebody's not rooted and grounded in the Lord, it's not going to give you the joy that you can get when you're with somebody that loves the Lord. Be careful, be careful, be careful. And please heed what the Word says. Know somebody by their fruits. Know somebody by their actions. Know if somebody genuinely loves the Lord before, if you do love the Lord, before you become close with anybody. Know that first. Don't get attached and then have to break up. That hurts. Know first.